But as far as at least the first two Star Wars trilogies go, he did set it up that way, and I really do. I really think that's a great call, and I really love the way that he does set that up.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The only thing I'd say is with the prequels, it kind of threw a wrench in it. Just because with the prequels, which this is a great segue to go to our next topic, with this prequels, they didn't do it where you introduce the characters, bad guy wins,
Oh, they
evil's
did.
vanquished, you know?
They did. They really did do that though, because if you look at Phantom Menace, Phantom Menace, they're introducing you to Obi-Wan Kenobi, which is supposed to be, it's not for the first time if you've watched the original movies, but they're introducing you to Obi-Wan Kenobi as he is during the prequels. They're
Hmm.
introducing you to Anakin Skywalker, who's just, a little slave boy on Tatooine. They're introducing you to all these characters. Padme, everybody's getting this introduction. And when you get to, Clone War or Attack of the Clones, evil does win because that's when, Anakin is maimed, and you have the events of Attack of the Clones where Anakin is kind of letting the anger build within him, where he can't
Yeah.
stand people, and he's actually starting to become Darth Vader, building up for evil to prevail in Attack of the Clones. The only difference is that the good guys do not win in Revenge of the Sith.
Well, I was going to actually argue that it was out of order
Mm.
because you get introduced obviously in Phantom Menace, and I have my issues with Phantom Menace, but overall I do think it's a pretty good movie, and that does hurt me to say. But but in the second one you have the good guy wins. Um they don't beat Dooku, but Dooku's on the retreat, you know. Obviously there's those animated Star Wars, what's the word, supplements that are included later that are also considered canon. But you have to remember, we're talking about when these were written as they were written. We're not talking about 10 years later when they finished the series leading up to Vader. I'm talking about when you only have Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones,
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith. So you have the bad guy loses, in my opinion, in Attack of the Clones because they destroy a good chunk of the droids. They save Anakin and Obi-Wan and Padme. Everything's hunky-dory at the end. They don't beat Dooku. Dooku doesn't win, though, either, because he's on the retreat. He's falling back.
However, though, Dooku does win because the plan of Palpatine and Dooku, remember, they're the ones that are behind the clone army. So they do win because now they have realized that they were able to push the Republic into letting these clone troopers come in,
Yeah.
initially sealing their fate. So it is going based off of how it was set up at the
It,
beginning.
I guess it's a little bit of a different the bad guy wins. Like in Empire, it's so clean cut
Oh
and
yeah,
clearly
oh
drawn
yeah,
out. Han Solo, you think he's dead. Like, okay, maybe not dead, but you know he's out of commission. And you don't
yeah.
know if he's going to live because they flat out say they don't know if people can survive carbonite.
Mhm.
But they realize that's the easiest way to get him somewhere without him causing trouble. So they do it. And you're like, dude, what the hell's going to happen to Han Solo? I can't wait for the next movie. Like, you know what I mean? And then, obviously, since I wasn't around when the Return of the Jedi comes out, I'm sitting there like, put in the next fucking disc. Let's go. Come on. Andale, andale.
Rapido,
um,
rapido.
yeah, rapido. And because I want to know what happens to Han, because that's just the beloved rogue of any movie. I made an argument earlier when we were talking about this stuff that I don't think there's any way to write a rogue character that is on the good guy's side where you have to question them. He's
Mhm.
always one. They're always going to be one of the favorite characters, and you can take that across any genre. It's very hard to write the crafty rogue of the group as an I don't know good guy bad guy. You got
Mhm.
Han Solo. You can take it to anything. Puss in Boots in Shrek, right? Like anything. That's my point. Like, listen, dude. I'm just trying to make my point. Like,
No, no, you
if
definitely have the archetypes.
yeah, like I'm just saying, like it translates. Kid shows, teen, adult show on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it just even in Lord of the Rings, like Aragorn. he's the ranger rogue type where nobody really knows, because he's the king, but there's so many questions about him. Like, they don't even know his name at one point. They just call him Strider.
Yeah,
I just think that's badass. Like, that's just a character I always enjoy.
definitely,
And
definitely.
and me personally, like, I just think that rogue character is always going to be great. And the thing with the prequels is you can argue that there's multiple rogue characters in it.
They kind of botched it because it wasn't like a character that kind of flowed all the way through the
Yeah.
trilogy. It was more or less like you get Boba Fett and or Jango Fett, and you're like, oh sweet, which Boba Fett was supposed to be this badass character, but they kind of
Dude,
botched him in the original trilogy.
don't you watch your mouth, dude. Boba Fett was a badass, and here's why. Welcome to my TED Talk. Boba Fett was a badass. They released a toy of him that fired a rocket, and kids choked to death. He was Anakin Skywalkering people in real life. Like,
But no,
the younglings.
but what I'm saying though is like if you're looking
I
for
don't
that,
actually
like,
know if anybody choked to death for the record, but that was the
they definitely
warning.
choked, whether they died or not.
Yeah, I don't know on that one. Like,
But no, I mean, what I mean by like the whole botch thing is more or less that Boba Fett, they introduced him. He was supposed to be this badass character. Same thing they did with Maul. I mean, he looked cool. It was a cool thing. They released the toy. I mean, we're gonna ignore the holiday special, but they did all
what
this stuff.
holiday special?
Exactly. But they did all this stuff to hype him up, and he dies so early on into Return. I mean, his part in Empire wasn't that big. I mean, yeah, it was big as in like it needed to happen, but it wasn't big as in like he was part of the whole movie long period of time. But then you get to Jango Fett when we're talking about the prequel trilogy, and it's like they make him look like a badass and everything, and he does kind of look like a badass. But then he
And
dies.
then it's a big old cock tease.
Yeah, and then he just gets his head cut off, and that's it. And with the prequels, what the big
In
difference?
my mind, that was one of my biggest issues with Attack of the Clones was Jango Fett died so quickly, and then it had the setup with his kid and everything, which, me personally, it was never confirmed from what I saw. I still think that was Boba Fett, was his kid.
But what do you mean? Boba Fett's definitely his kid, but it's a clone of him.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I never saw any confirmation that that was Boba Fett. I've seen fan theories and stuff like that, but I've never seen the like clear yes, that's him in the armor in Empire.
Oh,
You follow what I'm saying?
you're saying that in Empire Strikes Back, that's not Boba Fett.
No, I'm saying that I don't know if that was the same kid clone of
Oh,
himself.
it is. It is because with Attack of the Clones, they already said that Django's payment, he wanted an unaltered clone of himself. That means that he's going to age at the regular rate and everything like that, which is what Boba Fett was. But he treated Boba Fett like a kid. He wasn't treated like the
A clone.
clones. He
Yeah,
didn't
and they
have
left out the
rapid growth.
inhibitor, right?
Yeah, I mean, which that didn't really get added until the Clone Wars, but
I remember like being 6 or 7 years old and like thinking Darth Maul was the coolest fucking thing ever.
he was.
Because
I'll,
you want to go first?
yeah, I guess so. Darth Maul was definitely that cool character that they introduced in, Phantom Menace. That was like the badass character, and they did the same thing. It was just died at the end of that one too. But a funny story I will tell you. You probably won't remember this because you're, a few years younger than me, and you were probably way too young to remember what was going on. But I was like 5 years old in like 2001. I mean, I really hope I'm not making people feel old, that are watching this video or making you guys feel too young here. But I remember I was 5 years old in 2001, and there was this whole thing, obviously, with, 9/11 and everything. And Saddam Hussein, they were trying to find Saddam Hussein and whatever. And for whatever reason, I tied Saddam Hussein. I've never seen what he looked like by this point. I imagine him looking exactly like Darth Maul. Because
I believe that.
That
like,
was the.
You and I have had a lot of conversations in my life, but like that one right there just represents how most of those conversations go.
I don't know what it was. It was just maybe it was because it was the scary character, the one that was meant to give you freaking chills when Phantom Menace came out. And
Well, like,
then,
I think that's one of those things too, where like you see your parents affected by this character, and you think he's like this bad guy and scares them. As
Yeah.
a kid, I was afraid of Darth Maul.
Oh yeah.
Like not in the sense like, oh my god, Darth Maul's underneath my bed at night. I'm
That was
talking
the
like,
Grinch. The Grinch is the one that did that to me.
are you serious?
I don't know what it was. I had a nightmare one time with the Grinch, and he like killed my mom. And after that
Holidays were
point,
never the same.
yeah, no, it was like everyone was like, "Can we watch the Grinch?" And I'm like, "No, we're
Okay,
not
anyone
watching the Grinch."